Oh my god, OBS sucks. This thing was not moving when I was speaking earlier. Anyway. So I'm gonna have to redo this whole video, 20 minutes long just now. Alright, so I have a wishlist tier list for you guys. It's not really a tier list, it is a tier list, but it's entirely based on my opinion and my understanding of where the game is right now. So do take note that everything that I say here does not come with any kind of experience whatsoever. Okay, the only experience that it comes with is my own gaming experience and my own experience with the game thus far and what I think would make or break certain aspects of the game or whatever is needed to actually excel in some content, for example. So some of the information that I derived here came from the rest of my Discord members, so if you want to be part of the conversation, you can use the link down in the descriptions below just to join my Discord server, and I'll see you there, I guess. Anyway, so let's start with the wishlist tier list. So there are 4 tiers. There is a S tier, A, B, and C. So the S tier are the espers who you might want to put into your wishlist, or rather, if you have those espers and you have yet to reach certain resonance levels, then these espers would definitely deserve that spot over there, in my opinion, right? And there is of course A, B, and C, which is you know, the lower the ranking, the more important those espers are. So the way I understand the wish list to work is that you have 5 slots. If you were to use 100 wish stones, which you get from summoning espers, to summon within the 5 slots, you would probably get one of them at random. I think that's how it works. So it's quite important to know what are the 5 espers you want in your wish list because it's going to matter a lot to the resonance levels that you're trying to achieve. So without further ado, let's start with Sienna. Now, I think Sienna is probably one of the espers in the current update that has the biggest freaking buff ever. So take a look at this, right? She has 2 turns stun on her 3rd skill, which has a cooldown of 5 turns, effective 4 turns because she gains a turn. And if you successfully land a stun, which has like a 100% chance right now, you will reduce the AP of the enemies to 0, which means that there is an effective 3 turns of stun or like of control on the enemies. And to top it off, or rather to add on to the OP-ness of Sienna, so her 2nd skill has a cooldown of 4 turns, and it gives your entire team 3 turns of attack buff and 3 turns of speed up buff, which is amazing. So powerful for like Shadow Stream, for maybe the Infinity Tower, Temporal Tower, anything. Okay, so basically anything. PvP wise, I will need to explore a little bit more just to figure out how she fits. But obviously, you know, with a kit like hers, it's like super strong, right? So I do feel like yes, it is still possible to run her, and it is going to work a lot, especially in PvP. I think in Point War and RTA, I can definitely see her being very powerful over there. But yeah, so that's Sienna, definitely top pick for me right now. I'm definitely going to go R6 instantly. Like, I guess it's whaling time. Oh my god, they effectively make me love dupes. What the hell? Okay, next we have Sally. So Sally's also going to join the ranks of S tier. So the reason why she's so strong is that her mere presence disables all cleaves from happening on your team. So if you achieve R6, there are 2 effects, right? The first effect is she starts the fight with her Sweet Harvest effect, which effectively reduces the damage that your allies take by 25%. So if the enemies like cleave you and all that, nothing much is going to happen. But on top of that, if they land controls and your allies take a turn, they're going to get out of the controls because of the Sweet Harvest effect. Now the second effect is that she can start doing whatever. She can use her 2nd skill, she can use her 1st skill to just increase her, give herself immunity, or to heal your allies and to balance the HP ratios of your allies. A lot of support, right? A lot of support on her 2nd skill. Oh, and the attack buff as well. So I do feel like now she's gonna be excellent in PvP, definitely, that's for sure. But on top of that, for players who are using her in your first team in Dark Starlord, congrats! Now she's able to use her normal attack to help your hull land some extra poison stacks, so she's no longer going to be like just a sitting duck in my opinion. So I think she's really good right now. Now next, Ahmed. I think everyone can agree that he's going to be super busted. So he's R6, whenever one of your allies are attacked and they have less than 30% HP, he will follow up with an attack onto that enemy, which will then effectively heal that ally, right? And on top of that, land stuns. If you are using the Zeus set, which is huge because Zeus does not care about accuracy and resistance, it has a 50% chance for Ahmed, okay, just for Ahmed to land a stun. So that is incredibly broken, and I feel like the R6 is really like, you don't really need to think too much. It's something that has high priority right now. And next for Hyde, I do not really recommend you going all the way to R6. I don't feel like it really benefits him all that much. I think R4 or R5 is probably where he strives the most. So R5 he gains a lot of stats, yes. But R4 is where I think he shines a lot. So whenever at least one of your allies are dead, he will then gain 40% crit damage, which is amazingly powerful. And the reason why this is so effective for him is he runs with Hades Avatara, and none of these give him extra stats, so that 40% extra crit damage is massive for his kit. Now next and the final esper who will join the S tier will be Lewis. So this is my own opinion here. I do feel like Lewis' potential will increase a lot because take a look at this, right? If he lands his 2nd skill, he lowers the HP of the enemy, and his 3rd skill actually scales according to the HP of the enemy. So if the enemy has lower HP due to the 2nd skill, he will then deal more damage on his 3rd skill, the Rage Avatar skill, which, number 1, if the enemy dies, he will gain invincibility, which is huge. And number 2, it becomes a massive AoE explosion that does 50% of the damage of the overkill damage to the rest of the other enemies. Which in most cases, right, given that the enemy has low HP and you're dealing a lot of damage, it's probably going to be a spillover of about 30,000 damage or something like that, possibly. So I think there is a lot of potential in Louis right now. Now next, first in the A tier, that's going to be Ollie. So I feel like he benefits the most from R4. Some people would say R2. I would think that the 20% damage reduction is actually quite important because he needs to stay alive in order for your allies to actually be protected. So the R4 is so crucial. The R2 is, in my opinion, just a cherry on top. Now next we have Brewster. He's going to go straight into A tier because he's instantly effective at the start with the 3 stacks that he's going to get. So he's immediately going to gain like 36% AP if 3 other allies take a turn, for example. He's almost certainly going to take the 4th turn afterwards and just do whatever he needs to do. So I feel like, you know, right now he has a lot more potential than in the past. And in fact, I think right now he's probably going to be bumped up a lot in like some of the tier lists out there. Alright, next we have Tiye in the A tier. And the only reason why I want to put her in A tier is because her 3rd skill becomes remarkably strong. It no longer misses, which is very, very powerful. Now, Gaius is also going to join the A tier, and yeah, I can really hear you guys saying like, oh my god, Gaius A tier, skip this video, whatever. Now, the reason why I put in A tier is that he only really benefits on his R6. So for his R2, yes, it does give like a team-wide accuracy increase and crit rate increase. I do feel like the accuracy increase is probably more potent because he starts off in his normal state. So your allies who are probably like buff strippers, AP reducers, they are going to benefit instantly, which is great. But as for his crit rate buff, I don't really feel like that is that important because he will need to transform first, land his attack. But in most cases, you want to land proper AoE attacks. Like let's say you want to start off with Ling's AoE just to, you know, maybe take out 1 or 2 of the weaker espers and then use Gaius to pick out the remaining espers. That's how you usually want to play Gaius. But in this case, you want to reverse that, which I'm not too fond of that concept, but I know it does work at times. But his R6 is pretty decent, that's why he's in A tier in my opinion, because the extra 1 attack actually takes out a lot of other tanks out there. Now next we have Yuyao, who is going to join the ranks of A tier, and the reason for that is whenever one of her allies take a debuff, she's going to increase her own AP by 40%, which I think is really quite good. So she's in most cases going to instantly take a turn, return all the stuns, all the controls, whatever back to the enemy. She's going to be quite useful in like maybe slower point wall teams or RTA maybe. I'm not too sure, this is just my guesswork right now. But on top of that, whenever one of her allies gets stunned, she actually reduces the cooldown of her 3rd skill, which allows her to cycle it a little bit better. Now, Elliot is definitely going to go to A tier, man. Okay, some of you guys might disagree, but I feel like this changes Elliot entirely. So, with his R6, he will no longer get resisted on his 3rd skill. So, it's always going to strip all buffs, it's always going to increase cooldowns, and therefore, yes, you already understand, all the JJs in the game will all die under Elliot's curse. So Elliot will be the counter to every single JJ. There is not going to be a single JJ that can counter this particular R6 Elliot. Elliot will always overpower whatever JJ is out there. So that's PvP for you. Now next we have Ling. I am definitely going to put in an A tier. I feel like he really deserves this spot. So his 3rd skill now absorbs 30% AP from all the enemies out there. So if you're in point war RTA, he's instantly, almost always certainly going to gain a new turn afterwards, because if you absorb all of that AP, he's going to be able to throw his 2nd skill, which might take out a Hyde. And on top of that, his 2nd skill also has a defense break, which is like he has a seer debuff, he has a defense break. He's kind of like the Black Twin, right? But a better version of the Black Twin. I mean, there is no comparison, it's just that, you know, they share the same debuffs here. Okay, Clara, I put her at A tier, but I do feel like she might deserve B tier as well. Not a high priority in my opinion. So her R6 allows her to heal 3 different separate allies, which allows you to cleanse debuffs a little bit more efficiently and maybe heal a little bit more efficiently as well. So pretty decent for PvE, quite good for PvP as well. So, you know, Clara is Clara. Now, okay, Ophelia, I'm going to put her at B tier. Same for Ashley as well. They have the same reason. So the reason why I'm going to put them at B tier and not higher is, number 1, their resonance effects are not that great. They're not that eye-catching. They're not as powerful as some of the other espers here. But the reason why I'm not putting them at C tier is because they are still very meta espers and the extra stat helps them a lot. So it's not just about the resonance effects, it's also about the stat gains that they get. But don't get too confused, okay? 35% of your base stats is a fixed stat gain. It is just, it doesn't scale off your relics, right? It only scales off attack buffs, which means that it's not a very powerful additional stat. It's just something on top to increase your DPS a little bit, which helps a lot for these 2 espers. So number 1, Ophelia, the extra attack gain is going to help her so much. And for Ashley, the extra attack is going to allow her Rainbow Bridge to land more damage, for example. So I think for these 2 espers, yeah, probably low priority, but it is still helpful nonetheless. Now, Gabrielle with the 3 turns immunity on her third skill. So good, dude, so good. So now she's gonna be so potent in PvP and PvE, right? The only way you can counter her is by bringing buff strippers, which, yes, it is quite common, but at the same time, if you're talking about, like, let's say PvE content, the 3 turns immunity is so huge, dude. You can cycle through your immunity so fast, and your allies are like probably gonna be constantly on immunity, which means you don't really need to worry about enemies landing controls and all that. I do feel like it is very powerful. So I highly advise all of you guys right now to get your R6 Gabrielle whenever you can, because for now, she is fusible. But if you're watching this in the future, unfortunately, it's gonna be Lucas. Now next we have Triki. I'm gonna put him at B tier, so the resonance effect that he gains is that the minimum damage that enemies receive when they cleanse a debuff on their ally is 15%. It no longer goes below that, so if the enemy has currently 15% HP left and he cleanses a debuff on one of his allies, he is going to lose 14% HP and stop at 1 HP, for example. So it does not kill enemies, but at the same time it has a minimum HP drop, which is, I think, is really quite good, especially in a tower, and especially like in holo battle against Clara, for example. Very powerful. Now for Tang Xuan, so the effect that he gains, the main effect is that his second skill no longer absorbs buffs, or rather it no longer absorbs the enchantments on himself, which means he will no longer lose enchantments. So his first skill gives himself enchantments, his second skill gives himself enchantments, and his third skill also gives himself enchantments, which means he's constantly landing debuffs and all that. So pretty decent, I think, but then again, I always keep harping on the fact that his defense break is only 40%. It is not like 80 or 100%. I feel like he needs more proc rate on that in order for him to be a little bit better. So I'm still sitting on the fence. I know I'm a little bit hyped about Tang Xuan right now, but I just want to observe and see whether is he good before I come to any other conclusion. So right now, I think B tier is probably where he would sit for the time being, because honestly, 20% pursuit is really not that much after all. So last on the B tier, we have Zora. Okay, so she has defense break on her first skill now, and she also assists allies with her second skill whenever one of them attacks, with a percentage chance of, I think, 15%, which is really not much, but at the same time, it becomes quite helpful. It becomes quite potent in some PvE content. So for example, in Chronos, when the rest of your allies are attacking the boss, she's just gonna land defense breaks, she's just gonna land like her second skill and all that. Really good stuff, right? So I do feel like maybe she shines the most in PvE content, but I don't feel like you gain a lot of value from her because of the irregularity of her kit, the inconsistencies, and you know, just her typing itself is not that good, because at the end of the day, she is still a flow type. If you want to use her in PvP, you might not actually get a lot of value out of her. Glug glug. Alright, now starting off C tier, we have Garmr. So players like GG Easy, he might disagree, but the reason why I put him as C tier is because now he has an increase from 8 stacks to 12 stacks, which means that you need 4 espers just to make his R6 take effect. So what his R6 does is, at 12 stacks, he will instantly cast his third skill, which is really good. Okay, don't get me wrong, it is really good because the damage increases as well. 12 stacks, I think, gives you 184% AoE attack, which is really huge. It's the biggest in the game right now. But on the other hand, in order for you to gain 12 stacks outside of his turn, is to have Abigail buff herself for 4 entire buffs, have Nicole lucky buff Garmr for 3 more buffs, have Gabrielle to double buff, and maybe Anki Chai to double buff, or I mean, there are other double buffers up there, right? So you need to have 4 other espers just to make this comp work. And the thing is, if they take out your Garmr, like however they do in Point War, for example, then this entire setup is broken. So I don't feel like this is the change that he needed. I feel like he should have just stayed at 8 stacks, and I think he would have been a lot more potent, like amazingly more potent. Now, Ife is going to gain a new turn when she uses her first skill, so she's no longer going to pursue with her first skill. She would then be able to use her second or third skill afterwards, which is not such a big deal, although it does cycle her skills a little bit better as well. But the thing is, for Ife, right now, there is not a lot of content that she would excel in. I mean, okay, so maybe in PvE content, the tower is probably not a content that she might excel in, because you want to focus more on stuns, you want to focus more on AP control. Poisons itself is not necessarily that effective. You do not want the enemies to take a turn, right? And at the same time, due to her typing, she might not be effective in Chronos, so it's only left with APEP. But do you honestly want to fight Poison with Poison? Probably not the best choice right now. But who knows, maybe she might be powerful in APEP, who knows. But the thing is, would you invest R6 into Ife just for APEP? Probably not. Now, Biodina's C tier. Now, okay, so don't get me wrong, Biodina's resonance effects are really good. It's really quite helpful, but she is a flow type after all, and she's not going to be meta in the current PvP setting where wind types are just rampant. And at the same time, you know, the fix for her is not for more strips, it's for her to strip smart. Yeah, sounded kind of weird. But based on the current meta, I don't think in terms of PvP she actually shines a lot, so you don't really need to give her more resonances apart from where you are right now. And we're going to end off with Abigail, which I think gives Absorb to like 3 turns, right? It extends Absorbs to 3 turns, which is not a big deal in my opinion. And in fact, it's a detriment to some of the comps that you might be running in Shadowgale, for example, because you want your buffs to last for a short time. You do not want your buffs to last for a long time, because that would then affect the efficacy of your team. Oh my god, while I was editing, I totally forgot Totally forgot about the Fatum sisters. So I don't actually have their sprite here, so I'm just gonna use the next best alternative, which is Changpu, who, you know, honestly, she just looks like one of them anyway. So where would I put the Fatum sisters? I feel like the resonance is a little bit complicated. I'm not actually sure what it is trying to say here, but I do feel like it's just gonna increase the AP reduction on her third skill, which is not exactly what she needs. I feel like she needs the cooldown reduction on her third skill instead. That would have been a better resonance effect in my opinion. Yeah, honestly, now that I think about it, the mistrade up effect that I think she gets on, what was it, her third skill, it's not such a big deal at all. It only hits twice with a 50% proc rate. I feel like what she really needed was a cooldown reduction, and I think that would have made her a little bit better, so because of that, I'm gonna have to put the Fatum sisters at C tier and probably not an Esper that you want to focus an R6 on ASAP. So anyway, that's it for this wish list tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments down below, let me know how you feel about the list. I know there are some things that are a little bit more iffy to some of you guys. So for example, maybe Espers like Lewis, you might not want to put him up here because you have not used him. And maybe you might want to shift Brewster around because you just haven't built him, haven't used him at all. Maybe Espers like Tiye, you might feel like her third skill is not good enough reason for her to be in A tier. Yep, these are possible opinions, and of course Gaius as well, right? Some of you guys nerds out there, Gaius S tier! But anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and oh my god, my voice. Subscribe for more Dislyte content, and this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.